Healthcare reform. You might have heard about it. It's called the Affordable Care Act, but what does it really mean for you? Well, for starters, the law could make insurance more affordable for some. It makes it possible for Americans with health conditions to purchase insurance, and it removes certain limits and restrictions sometimes included in health coverage in the past. You are able to shop for these coverage options on your qualified health insurance carrier's website or through the health insurance marketplace. You'll be able to calculate your monthly premium and see if you qualify for tax credits or help paying for the cost of coverage. Today, almost everyone in the U.S. will be required to have health insurance of some kind. If you don't, you could have to pay a penalty that may increase each year. For more information on healthcare reform and what it means for you, explore our website.
Hello and welcome to Policy Bazaar. I'm Arjun Bhagat. Now, the health insurance industry has witnessed consistent growth since its launch in 1986, more so after the liberalization of the insurance sector in 2000. Now, with FDI in insurance increasing to 49%, we're looking at the sector coming into the limelight once again. Now, we all know about the various categories of insurance that there are, but today we are going to discuss health insurance, which is not only important, but is fast gaining importance for the industry and the consumers alike. For this, we're going to be talking to Yashish Dahiya, founder and CEO of Policy Bazaar. Thank you for joining us, Yashish. And we've got a special guest with us, Sandeep Patel, Managing Director of Cigna TTK Health Insurance. Welcome to the show, Sandeep. Let me begin with you, Yashish. Where does the healthcare industry, the insurance component, where does that stand right now? Is it gaining in popularity? We are an underinsured country, wouldn't you say?
We are significantly underinsured. So less than 15% of the country has health insurance. Our spends on both health insurance and healthcare are abysmal compared to the rest of the world, even when you compare it as a percentage of GDP. So ideally, when you're a low GDP country, you should ideally have a higher spend as a percentage of GDP. This, despite the fact that healthcare, health claims are the most frequent. I keep speaking about these 4 types of insurance: critical illness, disability, death, and health insurance. Health insurance is the one product out of these 4 which should ideally have the most frequent claims. So the consumer should be closest to it, and the consumer should at least feel the need of this product very quickly. They should also see the healthcare costs going up. I give examples. The same hospital or the same disease used to cost maybe 1/10 10 years ago than it costs now, maybe even 1/20th. So every year the costs are going up. So I do not know why people still do not universally have health insurance, and why everybody doesn't have health care yet. Of course, the stats are known to everybody. The health insurance market is growing at 35%, but from a very, very small base. And I still believe that consumers are not coming out and buying health insurance yet. There is still a bit of hesitation, there's still a bit of confusion, and most people look for a health insurance when somebody in the family or some neighbor has fallen sick, the big bill hits, and that's when they said, oh, wish he had health cover, because this would have been covered by the health insurance. And that is when people tend to buy.
Right, Yashish, you talked about the fact that when people, when there's an emergency in the family, that's when people realize that, I wish I had health insurance. Why is that the case? Because, are we not planning well enough?
Yeah, as a country, as a population, we are not planning. We're not reached a level of maturity in terms of understanding. That is very clear from the kind of policies being bought, not from health insurance, but from insurance overall. And we don't just plan that, these are likely health costs and I should take a health cover for it. But it's very emergency driven. It's very trigger driven. And the triggers are usually somebody falling sick or somebody having a disease.
Right, Yashish. Now, Sandeep, of course, Yashish has been giving us an overview of the industry and where healthcare stands right now in India and our reluctance to buy health insurance. From an individual perspective, very simply, why is healthcare so important for all of us in this day and age?
I think that I would break it down into 2 key areas: lifestyle change and financial protection. So effectively, if I take financial protection first, given that just kind of piggybacking on what Yashish said, around the fact the cost of healthcare continues to go up significantly. Double-digit rise, 18 to 20% year over year. Why? Quality of care is getting better. There's new procedures, new drugs, new technology that's being introduced. So effectively, when you think that a particular procedure might have cost you X 10 years ago, it's exponentially increased. It's not sort of a small increase. And people are surprised when they get to the hospital when that situation happens. So if they felt they have saved enough, the reality is that they haven't. So true financial aspect of it, the financial planning part of health insurance is extremely important. If you take a step back and if you look at how the society has evolved in India over the last 10 years, from an economic growth perspective, India has seen a tremendous amount of growth. With growth comes change and urbanization. As urbanization happens, lifestyles change, people's lifestyles change, which introduces a factor into how healthy a person is going to be. Now you'll see more people that are having stress because of work-related scenarios. Traveling time is a lot higher. They're not eating well because they don't have enough time to, say, have a home-cooked meal, so they may be eating out a lot more. So all of these aspects, all of these things actually play into exacerbating certain diseases, certain types of conditions like diabetes, like hypertension, like cardiovascular diseases, and so forth. So lifestyle changes had a tremendous impact. I'll give you a quick statistic. Diabetes, 67 million diabetics in India, 30 million on the sideline,
wow,
pre-diabetics. I mean, it's a massive number. So the reality is that, this is a disease, or what I wouldn't call it a disease, I actually call it a condition. It's a condition.
A lifestyle condition.
It's a condition, and you can live with it. But that condition can potentially cause other issues, which will, when you're hospitalized, can cost a tremendous amount of money. So I think the idea is, look, you need to have health insurance because lifestyles are changing, your financial perspective, you may not have the financial perspective, may not be taking the right financial perspective, so the financial protection is needed. And final point, people should buy young. And there is a key reason for that. And if you think about the products that are out there in the market today, India has done an amazing job in terms of creating some interesting dynamics into the product. For example, if you have the claim bonus, no claim bonus, that's a natural inflation index in my mind. Right, so effectively every year
is that an innovation as far as India is concerned?
It's absolutely an innovation as far as India is concerned, and I think that, but it's a natural indexation. So what happens is today, if I'm buying a 3 lakh cover, if I have no claims, I'm not really losing anything because, as I said, medical inflation keeps on going up. So that particular procedure might have cost something today. Tomorrow is going to cost a lot more, and yet people will say, I need additional cover, additional cover. Reality is that in itself has an inflation index built into the product. So if you buy young, you're actually saying, okay, I'm growing. The policy is actually growing with me and growing with the market as cost increases. And second is pre-existing conditions. So you may not know you have a particular condition today, so your policy when you buy it, or you may not have it today, so there may not be loading and so forth. You'll actually live out the 2 to 4 year period that most policies have. So when you really need care, you're covered on day one. If you wait until you have a particular illness or a condition, first of all, you're getting accepted. B, the fact that you have a loading on that premium, and C, you still have to wait for 2, 3 years or 4 years to get coverage.
Right.
So I think buying young, getting in young, and really understanding risk, the health risk, is extremely important.
And that's interesting because, Yashish, at the end of the day, we have a very young population. They are joining the mainstream of work right now. So, give them a perspective of what a good health insurance policy covers.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you mentioned young population, and Sandeep just mentioned these stress-related diseases. Just day before, I got a stat. So far on the show, every time I've been talking about critical illness plans, and I've been saying, start getting these plans by the time you're 40, 45, because critical illnesses usually hit you then. The stat I got was quite astounding. So the highest percentage of rise in critical illnesses caused because of stress-related or anxiety-related elements is in the age group of 26 to 35, which is really something that's changing in our lifestyle very rapidly. And I think buying young, the younger you buy, chances of you getting the medical cover are important. See, most people say that insurance companies run shy when the person is already sick. That time nobody gives them a cover. That's obvious. They are profit-making entities. They cannot distribute cover once a risk is known. They have to take on the risk when it is not known. When the risk may happen, may not happen, but once it's known, financial planning is required. So if you can buy early, that will make sure that you can get in early. Now there are plans which have no claims-based loading into life. As I said in the previous show as well, 70% of all claims worldwide come from chronic diseases. Something that's already happened. Trust me, at that stage, if I was an insurance company, I wouldn't want that customer because already got a chronic disease. Every year he's going to claim. So he's going to pay me a premium and his claim is going to be much higher than that. It's a known situation. But before it becomes a known situation, if the customer has gotten in, and if he specifically got a plan where there isn't claims-based loading or individual claims-based loading, the customer is going to gain. And that's when the customer will realize the value of that plan. And many of us will. 100 million people are diabetics or getting to diabetics. It's not the only disease in this country. There are other diseases,
Precisely.
which is a huge percentage. So, I think the need is quite out there, and the companies are innovating on those fronts.
And another reality is that as far as health insurance is concerned, there are so many incentives that the government has given in. They're tax-free, you can buy it for your parents. So, but coming back to you, Sandeep, we've got so many companies who've come into India. So many products are there. How does an individual say, all right, this product is for me or for my family or for my parents? How do you end up choosing?
I think as people that can have access to the internet, best way to start is to do research and find out really what is out there in the market.
So comparison is what you're saying.
Comparison is extremely important. And the reason for that is, on the surface, everything might look the same, but what's underneath the covers is extremely important. So a lot of policies might say, I do A, B, C, D, E, and if you compare it, it looks the same. The exclusions underneath that, or they have internal limits that are tied into plans. These are the things that become the surprise when you're ready to claim, when you go to the hospital, when you feel you have enough cover and all of a sudden you don't have the cover. So I think that the first and foremost, look at yourself, look at your kind of family history and saying, what is it that I really need? What am I concerned about most? The basics are covered. Hospitalization is covered. If you're a young couple, you may want to cover maternity. So kind of say, what are the things that I want to look for from a coverage perspective? Make sure that you're checking those boxes off. Then what are the additional value-added services that are providing? Some companies now, including ourselves, we actually provide worldwide coverage. Indians are becoming global. They travel quite a bit. So effectively having cover when you're overseas just to get yourself back to health back home is an extremely important feature, or it's an important feature that you may not have thought of, but it's a feature that's added to a particular policy. So I would say that do the research. More and more policies can be personalized. There are a lot of features that are out there. Wellness benefits are extremely important, and as well as what kind of rewards are you getting back for maintaining your health. So look at a policy holistically, check off the basics, and then see what's value added. What is that immediate value that I'm getting today?
Right. Now, IRDA has come up with a lot of new guidelines and inputs as far as the insurance industry is concerned. How does that impact the consumer? And what are some of the features that have really strengthened health insurance?
I think one of the things that IRDA has done, beautifully is you cannot, just because somebody becomes 75 or 80, you cannot say, hey, end of policy, now you're on your own. So they've stopped that. And as time progresses, people's age is increasing, so one shouldn't be afraid of just turning 80. That's a brilliant move. So lifetime renewability is a big piece that IRDA has brought in. IRDA has also clarified what certain terminologies mean. Now it's very clear today, if somebody needed a 3 lakh rupee cover 5 years ago, they probably need a 6 lakh rupee cover today, and they'll probably need a 20 lakh rupee cover 10 years from now. So that inflation-based adjustment, now every company will do it differently. So some companies are calling it recharge, some companies are calling it no claims bonus. So companies are doing that differently. So getting uniformity around some of these, see, from a consumer's perspective, today, health has had the maximum amount of innovation that I have seen in the last 3 to 5 years. The maximum innovation has happened in the health arena. What that also means is as companies are really working hard to put that innovation out there to the consumer, they will not do the same stuff because innovation doesn't come in a package. So you can't say, okay, everybody innovate today on this particular. So everybody is doing different stuff. Now that is, to some extent, creating more questions for the consumer. That what is right for me? How should I think about this? And it's starting to become a bit of a complex decision. Now, IRDA can help by standardizing some of these, but I think over-standardization would also kill some of the innovation. So I think IRDA has done its bit by making sure that the policies have the basic sanity factors. I think if they moved towards no individual claim-based loading, one can give a no claims discount, one can give a low claims bonus, but I think moving towards individual no claim-based loading would be a good feature if the IRDA does that, primarily because it's not the consumer's fault if he claims. When he got into the policy, he knew everything about himself. The company knew everything about himself. I think that's a fair deal. And the company can price up for the entire group, but for an individual, it should not, because that just makes sense. So I think consumers and insurers need to start having a better handshake. In the sense, consumers need to realize that they can't pass on known risks to the insurance companies, and insurance companies should realize that the unknown risks, once taken, are taken. And there are no question marks around those any longer.
We will be taking your questions, but just one more question, Sandeep. There's a lot of talk about preventive health care. Explain that to us, and why is it important for consumers taking health insurance that is somehow molded into your policy?
I think that the policies that are in the market today, most of the policies that are in the market today, are sickness benefits. And that is one of the reasons that consumers are kind of shying away from it, saying, hey, I'm not ill, why do I need to buy this? And so they do not understand the aspect of illness and so forth. We need to bring health back into health insurance is the way I look at it. You need to look at the entire continuum of care, and that starts with preventive care. So as we were talking about earlier, folks have stress management, there is other diseases or conditions that are coming up like diabetes, hypertension, and so forth. What can you do to prevent that? How can I take action today? Exercising, eating right. These are preventive care methods. Sleeping right. Sleeping is becoming a major issue in India, given the stress level, especially in urban India. So these are preventive care measures that you can take so that your body, and at the end of the day, your body is like a machine, right? And effectively, you need to make sure that it's functioning at an optimal level. If it functions at an optimal level, the likelihood of you getting the conditions, such as the ones that we've been talking about, or getting further ill or having a surprise illness is going to be very low. So what is preventive care? It is really the insurance company and the product helping you manage your health. So how can I today add more value to your life by keeping you healthy and making sure that you don't really get into that sickness mode? And if you do get into the sickness mode, obviously we're there to take care of you, pay your claims, get you to the hospital. But we need to think about it after the fact as well. The other side of preventive care is getting you back to life, in essence, right? Effectively, coming out of the hospital, things change. Your lifestyle will change. What do we need to do to help you get back there? So preventive care to me sits on both sides of what sickness benefit is, and it's an extremely important factor from an insurance perspective. I think India is on the cusp of getting there. If you look at most of the world today, preventive care is becoming the core and the key of insurance. And I'll give you one quick reason why. First and foremost, the customers, your consumer, is happy, right? They're healthy. People want to be healthy. They don't want to be hospitalized. Nobody really wants to go to the hospital. But if I'm, as a company, making an investment in you, keeping you healthy, there's an engagement level that I have with you, and you feel that I'm vested now in you, keeping you healthy. You're living a happy, healthy life. So that helps in terms of creating a positive relationship now between the insurance company and the individual. Second, the cost of claims come down over time, which impacts the premium that the individual pays. So effectively, it's sort of a win-win situation for everybody, preventive care. Happy, healthy life, cost containment, cost control on both sides. So I think that it is an important aspect of it. Most countries, you look at the US, you look at Europe, you look at Australia, all of these markets have taken on preventive care holistically and has become a core to health insurance. They do more of preventive care in a health insurance product than they do of sickness care, because the sickness levels have come down because of the preventive aspect of it. So I think products need to have not only features, so service features, but benefits. So how much money am I going to give you so that you can actually practice preventive care? Go see the doctor, go get a health checkup. These are important aspects. Knowing is half the battle. And today you have a high percentage, I think it's almost 30% of folks that are dying of heart attack under the age of 40, and it's a surprise. So knowing is half the battle. If you know you have hypertension, if you know you have something...
So this basically includes annual health checkups, and if there is a problem, then you get onto the medicine.
Absolutely. Outpatient benefits, pharmacy benefits,
So doctor... you're preempting
exactly.
a possible medical condition that you may have. So that's how...
And augmenting that with lifestyle modification, right? So I'm going to exercise more, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to sleep better. So it's a kind of a combination of these things coming together.
Right, Sandeep. Now it's time for viewers' questions. We've got Shelja Kapoor from Bangalore, and she says that I have BP for the last 20 years, for which I take a daily tablet. No complications other than that. Now this, she says, was declared while taking the Mediclaim policy. The policy was issued after paying additional premium. No exclusions were mentioned in the policy for blood pressure or its associated complications. Now she asks, can this ailment be cited as a pre-existing ailment while processing any claim for BP-related illnesses? Yashish.
Yeah. So there are three kinds of things that could have happened. One is it could have been excluded, which Shelja has clarified it's not been excluded. So the policy could have been given to her with a permanent exclusion. There could be a removal of a pre-existing condition where one could say that, okay, I'm going to cover this particular pre-existing condition from day one. And there could be retainment of a pre-existing condition and offer of the policy. Now, I don't know which of the latter two has happened. So, and that is what she has to call up the insurance company and check. So when she has got the policy, yes, she's paid a higher premium, but that's because there was a certain risk associated with her, which she has declared. But I'm assuming she has got the standard policy with the pre-existing period, which could be from 2 to 4 years. 2 is very rare. Most companies have 4 years. So basis that, she would have got the policy. And if the waiting period has been removed, then she has to check that with the insurance company. I would be surprised if that's happened.
Right, thanks. We've got Neha Saini from Mumbai, and she asks, I wanted to get my dad's knee surgery done. However, he is not insured at this point. His age is 65. Is he eligible for an insurance cover? And as this is a pre-existing problem, would the insurance company still cover it?
So insurance company would cover it as a pre-existing ailment or may exclude it. So that's up to the insurance company, individual insurance companies. However, a very cautionary note, I've been saying it from the day we started these programs, you do not take out an insurance policy for a known cost. An insurance company is also a financial entity. It cannot make a definite loss. So if it knows there is a surgery, it can't just, and surgery costs, let's say 50,000 rupees, it can't take 10,000 rupees and give 50,000 rupees knowingly. So I think this particular surgery would have to be paid for by Neha or her dad themselves. And once the pre-existing disease clause is over, depending on which company's plan they take, then it may or may not be covered unless it's excluded. But yeah, that's one of the reasons people have to take a health cover before they get into a particular situation. Now, there are other plans that are available out there, which can be around the OPD type, which give you a tax benefit on your spend. So those kind of plans are feasible. There are also care plans, so you could take a care plan which could give you discounts on some of the treatments. So there are wellness plans which could help you, but from a health insurance perspective, very difficult to get paid once the cost is known.
Thanks a lot, Yashish. Thanks, Sandeep, for joining us on this show of Policy Bazaar. But that's all that we have for you. Do write to us at ask.policybazaar.com or tweet us at Twitter at @PolicyBazaar_in. And we'll see you next time with another episode of Policy Bazaar. Goodbye.